We are now at the section of the agenda for public discussion and comments on agenda items. Please refer to the regulations regarding discussion and comments that is posted next to the sign-in sheet. We do have some people that are signed up for agenda items. Mr. Collada?
Hi and good evening. My comments today reference items 6, 7, and 10 of the human resource, mainly new teachers, 21st century teachers on special assignment, also school leadership, infinite campus, and conference requests. Having attended a lot of your committee meetings, I find that the dialogue and conversations there is somewhat lively and very informative as to the thinking many of you board members put into your decision making. And that also brought up with myself thoughts and ideas that I would like to underline for your consideration when making decisions regarding these items. Basically, I'm asking you to take a look at what evidence we have over the last 5 years that these programs are actually working to improve the proficiency, academic performance, and eventual graduation of our scholars. I'm not talking so much about anecdotal evidence. There's plenty of stories that we've heard here of successful individual students, but the overall populations that these programs are designed to help assist. Evidence that is found in these demographics that have so well demonstrated the need for. Are we really succeeding with these groups? If there is a need to help 100 students, for example, what percentage are benefiting? Based on some of the conversations I've heard here at meetings throughout the year and at the committee meetings, I'm not sure if we are understanding the effect these programs have and whether or not those effects are the desirable effects we're looking for. Questions have been brought up about attendance. Questions have been brought up about performance and even about accountability. The programs themselves sound wonderful. They seem to address a real need. But is that really what we're accomplishing year after year? So I'm asking you to take a look at to what measurable end, what evidence exists that supports these programs so that we can move forward with continued success. How well are they doing in regards to the needs of students? How well are they doing with the needs of the families that they're supposedly benefiting? What are the long-term benefits, or are we simply looking at short-term quick fixes? Is there enough information to show any effect on rising graduation rates among some of the subgroups? What about improved attendance? What about improved behavior and improved effort and such? We're spending a lot of money, whether it's from the state, the federal government, or from ourselves. It's still our money. And it's money that should be well spent getting the results we're looking for in a steady, progressive manner. What about the participants themselves? It has been impressive to hear that hundreds of students are signed up, hundreds of students qualify, but who's attending and how often? And is this attendance meaningful to any measurable improvement? Or is it sporadic? What exactly defines success? And what exactly defines improvement? It's great on paper to say that the district has all this to offer. It's great to see that a food store exists that has so many options, but if people are not benefiting from it, to what end can we say that the program should exist? Maybe the decision today should be about simply having funds, not just having funds, but having the right programs with the right approach and the right accountability. And I hope as you make these decisions, you keep that in mind so that we can see the progress it brings, so that we can see the investment was worth it, and that your time and effort devoted to seeing that these programs exist does not go in vain. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to address the board on agenda items? If not, we're going to roll along to our superintendent, Dr. Padilla.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, everyone. It's great to see so many people. It's like a family reunion. So we do have a couple items tonight. And so we're going to start with 3.1, which is a recognition for perfect attendance. And I'm going to ask our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Mr. McLemore, to assist.
Thank you, Dr. Padilla, President of the board, and members of the Board of Education. We want to just take this opportunity to just recognize the employees who have had perfect attendance for 2018-19. We understand that we have a dedicated staff all over the district that works for our scholars, and they come to work even when they don't feel good. They come to work sometimes, when they're out of it, but they're dedicated. They're dedicated to our students. And so there are some that have been blessed last year to have perfect attendance, not missing a day at all. And so tonight we want to recognize and celebrate them with you on tonight. And so Mr. Dotton is going to read the names of those persons who have had perfect attendance for 2018-19. And when you hear your name called, just come up and stand by the board president and the superintendent, and we're going to take a picture together just like a family.
So good evening all. I will do my best with your names. Please forgive me in advance if I make an error by mistake. As we call you, please come forward. Linda Alvarez. Jamie Antonaccio. Jamel Barnes. Heather Bonham. Richard Bowman. Rosa Cappuccilli. Adele Carey. Mary Lou Carolyn. Regina Sina. Ebony Clark. Robert Condosta. Kelly Connolly. Catherine Kramer. Teresa Kramer. Alyssa Cruz. Linda DeCoco. Mark Epstein. Thomas Finnerty. Kevin Foster. John Garzion. Willie Gale. Renee George. Stephen Gladura. Patricia Gould. William Grace. Nancy Gross. Carolee Hamlin. Ethel Haynes. Wilhelmina Lamb. Vicente Lima. Miguel Luciano. Kimberly Lynch. Darcy Matthews. Curtis McMillan. Burnell McKenzie. Michael McLemore. I mean, this is his plan all along. Kathleen Murphy. Roseanne Musial. Daniel Nelson. David Owens. Roberto Padilla. Right. Onyx Peterson. Victoria Petrie. Matthew Padell Cynthia Pinter, Marisol Reyes, she came with the cheering section. Awesome, congratulations. Raul Rodriguez, Ellen Rosenshine, Dale Salisbury, Rachel Schuyler, Edward Seward, Sharon Sharp, Barbara Slaughter, Lisa Marie Spindler, Barbara Sussman, Kara Tancredi, Susan Valentino, Daryl Van Boris, Salvatore Vasile, Ruben Velez, and last but definitely not least, Adrian West.
On behalf of the Board of Ed and the 12,000 scholars in our district, we just want to express a heartfelt thank you again for your commitment. We're going to move on to 3.2, and that is a report out to the Board of Education regarding our extended school year program. And our Chief Equity Officer, Dr. Roman, will lead us in this presentation.
Good evening. Good evening, Madam President, members of the Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. Padilla, as well as members of the senior team. This evening, presenting with me are Ms. Rodriguez and Mr. Milwaukee, who were representing the extended school year elementary leadership team, as well as Ms. Valentino and Mr. Schuss, who were the extended school year secondary administrators.
I'll let you people in front.
According to the National Center for Educational Statistics in 2017, they noted that after kindergarten, 83% of children from low-income households have no activities or regular care scheduled after summer months. Equally critical is that while 38% of affluent students attend summer camp programs, only 7% of low-income students have the same opportunities. Equity is about providing all scholars with access to resources that they need to be successful. Achieving equity that through excellence for all means all scholars. From scholars that are performing well, we want them to continue to succeed by providing them access to rigorous learning opportunities. For our scholars that are struggling, it is a moral imperative that they receive the necessary supports to access rigorous learning opportunities as well. The goals of the program are listed. The main one was to mitigate the summer slide. The notion of the summer slide is the tendency for students to lose some of the academic achievement gains that they made throughout the previous year, the previous school year. We had a number of courses that we offered our scholars. The majority are enrichment programs, and I would like to send a special shout out to our curriculum and instruction team who helped to develop a robust lineup of extended learning opportunities for our scholars. As you can see, in the secondary level, students were exposed to some exciting programs: drumline, ceramics, steel pan, forensics, scholars and scrubs, economics, leadership opportunities. Our scholars had an opportunity to be on college campuses, and this was through the intentional design from our curriculum and instruction team. So thank you. So what does the data show? So we set out to collect both quantitative and qualitative data. As we continue to improve the process of evaluating our programs, this baseline that we'll be presenting to you this evening will allow us to make the necessary future fiscal, programmatic, and instructional improvements as we move forward. So the total enrollment for this extended school year program was a total of 2,327 scholars. There were 667 students at the elementary level and 1,660 students at the secondary level. As you see here, this slide shows you the attendance rates for the various programs. So as you can see, there are programs that were on the high end, close to 100%. Those programs at the secondary level do have an attendance policy that was met and implemented with fidelity. At the elementary level, one of the things that we noticed was 51% of our exceptional learners program. We only have 51% of attendance at the exceptional learners, and so we wondered why. And so as we dug deeper, we realized that this percentage does not reflect the great work that's been happening. It's important to note that although the percentage of the overall attendance in this particular program for the exceptional learners, the total number of eligible participants has increased exponentially over the past 4 to 5 years, which means that we are in compliance thanks to the exceptional learners team. They are continuing to ensure that they communicate with students and families to let them know that this program is intended to ensure that substantial regression doesn't take place over the summer. And so given that percentage, what we plan to do moving forward is do a cross-collaboration with our family and community engagement team as well as our exceptional learners to ensure that our families know what's happening and the importance and the impact of attending these kind of programs. And this program was a mandatory program. The other programs, students and families had to sign up for those programs. As we look at the elementary school student achievement, I'm going to call up our administrators that were overseeing the elementary school programs, Mr. Bouaki and Mrs. Rodriguez.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Trina, board members.
Good evening.
So for summer school, we worked with curriculum instruction and Dr. Roman to implement this year of having all students at the elementary level have teacher college learning records administered so we could see what the impact was from the first week to the last week. So the teachers did a ton of great work of implementing it and assessing the students so that they really understood where the kids were immediately when they got them, and then really work for it. And that went from classroom teachers to teaching assistants to aides to really make this all work. In addition, we used the GOMAP benchmark assessments to really help develop instructional strategies for our scholars to make success this summer. As you can see, 79% of our students at the elementary level showed progress, at least 1+ level, and 21% remain the same. That is the work to, I see a lot of familiar faces in this room, to the teachers, teaching assistants, and aides for the work that they do with all our scholars on a daily basis this summer. So we would not be successful without them.
So in many of our programs, we have additional activities outside of the curriculum. In this picture, you'll see in our exceptional learners program, one of our teachers bringing in an officer from the community where he spoke about school safety, what it means to be an officer in our community, and inviting students to see just the day in and day out and speak with him so that they can get to know the officers as well.
So this is the Exceptional Learners Summer School. This is Mary Jo Day. Bernadette Salino and Pat Pavada did this in honor of our teaching assistant, Mary Jo Bureau, who passed away in 2002. And it has become a celebration of her as having her son come celebrate the work that she did, but also we have the kids have a celebration in summer school as it is one of the longest programs we do have. The teachers work so hard with the kids all summer to really celebrate the progress, and it's a great event, and it's really tied to some academic rigor, and the kids have a great time, and it's been a nice collaboration where we've had the high school soccer team, the football team come down to work with the kids, and it's been a wonderful event that continues to keep going.
These are some pictures of the 21st Century Lego program at Temple Hill this summer, where students were working with 21st century skills and robotics in creating code and implementing that code to create some kind of robot that I think they followed along some paths. And they also had a showcase presentation to parents and families at the end of that program to culminate their experience.
And in the picture you see Susan Benjamin has collaborated with Edward Green to have her NFA West students to come mentor and work with the students at 21st Century during robotics time. So that was a great connection. We talked with a lot of high school students who said, oh, I can't wait to do this again next year, and really opened up. They had a wonderful time, so it really opened up their eyes for other opportunities.
The partnerships with the students especially allowed our younger students to connect and collaborate with those who are already in our programs. It was a partnership that really flourished throughout the summer.
At this time, I'm going to call up Mr. Schuss and Ms. Valentino, who will speak to the academic achievement at the secondary level.
So on the academic side today, or this summer, at the middle level, we took in more kids than we had in previous years because we also brought in the leadership program for grade 8 so that we could help to make their transition to the high school. So we had more students in the leadership program as well as grade 8. And also, we also pumped up math at grade 7 as well at, we pumped up math and ELA at grade 7. You can look at the numbers. We had a lot of passing rates throughout the elementary program, throughout the middle school programs. At the high school program, as you know, the high school program starts with seniors. And then as room allows, we bring in even more students. One thing that was very, very positive for us, we do have a small problem at the high school with algebra, we were able to bring in more algebra students than we had before throughout previous summers, and we had a passing rate that was very, very high that we allowed. Now those students are now eligible to move on to geometry. You want to speak about the big number?
Yeah, so we basically offered any course that a student would need to graduate in August. We had 87 students that were potential graduates of August, and we had 51 of them complete all the requirements and were able to actually graduate. The students that were not able to graduate either needed additional Regents exams, or they needed more coursework, which they're enrolled this year, and they would be able to complete that by the end of the school year.
The 51 graduates we had this summer is the largest number of graduates that we've had in 5 years running our USYP programs. We also had significant gains in our L population who were able to pass the ELA reviews, which is a really big sticking point for us.
And at the secondary level, in addition to course recovery and Regents prep courses that we also offered Empire courses to students. So we offered a variety of different programs, including ceramics, steel drum. So students had an opportunity to really immerse themselves in those courses, and they participated basically for the entire length of the program, and got to do a lot with something that they may not have access to during the regular school year. That was very successful also. And that ranged anywhere from 6th grade up to 12th grade, those students participated in.
So the performance piece for the middle level part of the Empire program, they put on a presentation of James and the Giant Peach in our Black Box Theater. Our drumline performed at a Hudson Valley Renegades game this summer. They did a great job out on the field. And for the first time this summer, we were able to offer SAT prep to students, and we're really looking forward to seeing what their scores look like on the November 2nd.
Okay, this time I'm going to call Mr. Gulaki and Ms. Rodriguez. We piloted a student survey just to get some perceptual data from the students, and they're just going to kind of highlight some of the key findings.
So just to reiterate that we had piloted a feedback survey from students that was given through the Launchpad and accessible to all students within the program. Some of the questions that were asked were, did students agree or disagree on whether or not they learned something over the summer? So as you can see, 86.2% elementary scholars strongly agreed that they had learned a lot during the summer. That was evidenced by the assessments that were given as well, and the curriculum and the walkthroughs that we were doing throughout the summer. Additionally, 70% of elementary scholars strongly agreed that they enjoyed the summer program. As you saw in previous slides with pictures of students engaging in extra activities, we also observed that through our walkthroughs with students engaging in curriculum and hands-on projects that were given throughout the summer.
And then this slide shows that 81.3% elementary scholars strongly agreed that learning was interesting, which is great because you can see the connections that the teachers form with the kids right away because they have a short period of time to get that quick hook to start learning. And to be able to do that is a real skill, but it really showed that the teachers were teaching and the curriculum that was interesting, that curriculum instruction worked so hard to deliver to the teachers for them to implement. So overall, it was very successful.
So what did we learn? So after looking at this data, we realized the importance of families understanding and knowing what each of the programs are, what's the intended outcome early on. So what we want to do is have our equity and access team, specifically our family community engagement team, to put together a program fair for all of the summer programs in the spring. Early program planning, as well as determining what assessments we're going to be utilizing with the support of our curriculum and instruction team. We want to make sure that, lastly, we have a specific target instructional goal based on the instructional gaps that we need to close in the district. And so, once again, that's going to require cross-collaboration with our various divisions. Lastly, we just want to thank the Board of Education, Superintendent Padilla, our teachers that are here that work to extend the summer school year program, our administrators, as well as our support staff. Without you guys, we would not have been able to do this for our scholars. So thank you.
Board members, do you have any questions for Dr. Roman? Yes, Mr. Stoddard?
It's not a question, but I just want to thank everybody involved with the extended year program. I come across a lot of people that tell me, oh, going to education, you get the summers off. It's not the case. It's proof that every single day, no matter whether it's in summer, at night now, there's a lot of effort being put into our scholars, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Roman, and to the team. This is something that we will continue to focus on and monitor. We're obviously making a lot of investments in extended school year programs with the belief that if students have something engaging over the summer, whether it be remedial or enrichment, that they'll be better off starting the school year. And so it's our intent to monitor this data very closely so that way we can refine our programs for next year. So that is exactly what we'll be doing. Up next, I'm going to call up our Assistant Superintendent of Exceptional Learners, Mr. Baird, and he also will be giving the Board of Education an update on social emotional learning, specifically at the elementary level.
Thank you. I'm also inviting Onyx Peterson, our Director of PBS, up as well. He's going to co-facilitate this meeting this evening. So thank you, Dr. Padilla, President Mineo, members of the board, senior team, all the community and personnel that are here tonight. So I'm tonight going to give an update on a framework that we had put together back in 2016 around trying to support social emotional learning at the elementary level. So just as a way of history, very brief history, the impetus of this back in 2016 was two primary areas. One, our Pillar 5 talked about supportive learning environments and the need to really develop social emotional learning programs at the elementary level. In addition to that, we were getting some word from the State Ed Department that they were looking to, under the guidance and counseling plan, to consider the idea of having school counselors at our elementary schools. And we had deliberated over increasing that number and decided on a model that included 3 social workers, 3 school psychologists, and 3 school counselors in the opportunity to try to improve our SEL program activities for our kids. So back in 2016, we met with a committee that was made up of those 3. Mr. Forger, Deputy Superintendent, and I led that committee through the spring of 2016. And we deliberated over what the program should look like. And it was really 11 areas at the time that we identified as areas that we felt needed to be supported at the elementary level. You can just read through quickly what those 11 were. The original model was really to try to create systems. So one of the things we were noticing is that we had excellent programs that embedded in certain schools, but it was hard to find a district-wide initiative, things that you could see in any one of our elementary schools that we could say made a difference for how our students were able to manage their social emotional well-being at the elementary level. So it was really trying to create programs and protocols that you could see and identify across our 9 buildings. We did a lot of work around really researching evidence-based programs to make sure that they were things that we know that can work for kids, and then try to implement them. Really important to have the 9 members that were part of this team, still part of this team, is to really create a professional learning community where they really co-collaborated and worked so that way, even if you work in one building, you can ensure that there's some collaboration in the other buildings so we can get that consistent practice across our 9 buildings. And then really trying to organize, we brought the 3 disciplines together because each has certain expertise, and we thought that having each one of them, they can bring their expertise to the equation, so when we consider a program,
that a school counselor may be better practiced in, or a school psychologist that they can co-collaborate. And again, the whole notion was to try to reduce the number of SEL risk factors at the secondary level that sometimes lead to suspension, disengagement of students, dropout rates, things like that. The original model was had a triangular approach. It was really having the building level SEL. Each elementary school had a SEL member. We then had them also meet around discipline-specific areas, so the 3 school counselors, 3 school psychologists, and the 3 social workers would meet and look at how certain programs were being implemented by the building. And then on every half day, they all met, all 9, for half a day to really talk about the impact of their work. Initially, there were successes. What am I handing this over to you? You practiced this. Okay. So there were initial successes we saw in the implementation. We began to create common attendance protocols. When do we call parents? What are the teachers' involvement in trying to help bring kids to school? When do we send letters out to families? How do we interact? When do we do home visits? A big thing that we saw were 5th to 6th grade transition programs. They were buildings where we actually invited 5th graders to really talk about over a day what it's like, what's the middle school experience, what are you going to be prepared for, and give them some immersion into that prior to them moving up to 6th grade. There was an impetus around DASA anti-bullying programs. We looked at some programs and also created them their DASA liaisons, and to make sure that they're addressing the bullying concerns at the elementary level. As everybody in the room knows, we also had our SEL programs that were individualized by building. Leader in Me being one that is in Gardnertown, Fostertown, and Gams. Ruler, among others, Temple Hill, Fells Gate, New Windsor. And it was really trying to help that be rolled out and pervasive throughout the building. We did a lot of work around trauma with poverty, did some professional role around that, and there was a real culture of collaboration. It was really nice to see these 9 members really kind of avail themselves of each other to try to address needs at the building level.
Good evening, everyone, board, community members. So we definitely had some barriers to our SEL work on the K-5 level. And one of my main goals as PPS director is to really work with my teams to develop data and structures around the effectiveness of individual students and building systems. So a part of that process came in the spring of last year when I met with the SEL team in collaboration with executive leadership and building leadership around how are our implementation processes going and how can we measure the effectiveness around the 11 flows that were identified from the original purpose of the SEL teams. So we saw these barriers from their words, their feedback on their work, and many of the buildings talked about, and many of the SEL team members talked about the fact that we don't have a full understanding of some of the purposes of SEL teams. Their roles within buildings weren't clearly defined as district or building level. There was different stages of implementation across programs, whether they were Leader in Me or Ruler. And some of the internal moves that we had going on was impacting the effectiveness of the implementation of the program. Some of the recommendations that the team came up with were, to have a clearer framework. And this kind of goes back to my original purpose and my work with my teams about building frameworks that have measurable goals that we can look at the effectiveness around the levers of support that were identified by the team. So part of it was to develop a revised implementation plan that includes baseline measures around the levers of support, which I'll go into on the next slide. And to also give those ongoing reports to the board and to the community so we can show the effectiveness of SEL team members within our school community. So some of the 4 power levels of SEL teams that we thought were important and are measurable things that we can talk about our work was the effectiveness of the attendance interventions, thinking about the implementation of alternatives to suspension around mindfulness, restorative justice, and meditation with our students K-5. We also wanted to continue to work around poverty and making sure that we are engaging in teaching how to deal with students that experience trauma and creating environments and classrooms that are sensitive to students that engage in, that have trauma. As well as also meeting the state mandate around career counseling for the K-5 students. So These are the 4 areas in which the team identified that, the work is starting, it's continuing, and we wanted to improve upon. So, so for the social workers, we identified that they're already an integral part of the attendance with chronic absenteeism. So to build a framework around how they're going to support buildings on chronic absenteeism, as well as being a part of the district attendance team to build interventions for students to help us with our overall attendance rate. We looked at school psychologists, a thing that might be helpful would be alternatives to suspension. Like how are we, as SEL members, really teaching our students about mindfulness, sensory support, restorative practices, creating safe spaces within our schools to teach our students about meditation, as well as continuing the work around safe school ambassadors. For school counselors, we wanted to really start getting a clear understanding around the implementation of the K-5 career and college readiness standards that have been given by the state. And one of the programs that we looked at and we kind of researched was the Jobs Employment. It is a Pause and Job Link. Pause and Job Link was the name of the job, which is heavily used upstate. And basically what this is an online program that helps students in K-5 explore the 16 career areas for clusters. And it's an internet-based program that has curricular support. So that's one area that we're looking into to try to start our implementation around.
So, let's go visual. Mr. Nimble, I don't know how to get to where we can click on the actual link. Is that something I would do? I don't want to mess this up. But we just pulled up the website that we're using. You can kind of just get an appreciation for developmentally appropriate. It's really meant for teaching kids, as Ms. Peterson said, 16 career clusters. If you go down, anybody who wants to, there's a little video that kind of describes how this goes. Students can click on different buildings or different areas in a town or a city, and it will pull up what are these jobs that fall in those clusters, what are the skills you need, and then also. So this is something that we plan to fully implement in the 1920 school. Right? I don't want to get out there. I'm not looking good up here. So, all right. So one of the fourth lever, which is the engaging and teaching students poverty line, which is the board had supported 16 of us to go down to San Antonio to actually meet with Eric Jensen and do a 3-day workshop. This is also work that's being done in other ways throughout other parts of the district. We were really changed. Nancy Gross was here, was there with us. Knowing how this looks actually changed our ideas of how we should teach and engage students. So we're talking about how to roll that out and to make sure we have ways, entry points in each building so that we can build this up to scale in all our buildings. So our staff know how we can engage students who are coming from traumatized backgrounds and where poverty is a pervasive concern. So lastly, this is really the work we're doing now, which is really to develop assessments. These assessments, an equity measure. We made a decision to put one of the SEL members in each building. We're going to look at whether that's the best way to distribute the staff, or do we need to kind of reinvest some of the staff in different ways. We're going to develop and then report out to the board a 3-year implementation plan, and also to have measurable objectives and benchmarks that we can report out as to the impact we're doing. We're going to make sure that we are very data-driven in our approach. The big question out there is, does that mean my social worker won't be in my building anymore? Yes, they will, but they won't necessarily get bogged down by some of the day-to-day. The whole intention was to try to build programs so that way we won't need as much day-to-day support. So they'll still be doing some of that work, but we're going to create a calendar and a workload distribution that we'll present out to the principals and to the staff by October 18, 2019. That's it.
Board members, questions? Yes, Mr. Stradani.
You mentioned that one of the barriers was that the SEL members were viewed as board of ed employees. What is the biggest thing you can do to address that issue?
I think it was resolved over time, but I think when we laid this out for the principals, they couldn't understand, so can I ask my social worker to do a risk assessment on a child? Can I have them involved in our RTI team? Can I have them meet with parents? It was really that understanding of what are they really owned by the board, or are they owned by the building? And we had to negotiate that, and it was different buildings. We wanted to make sure that these folks, while these are needed supports in buildings, spend time building programs. The systems and protocols that are pervade across my building. So it was a learning experience, and some didn't really know how to really understand how to utilize this person, when to leave or free them up, so they don't get consumed by day-to-day stuff, but also to still be there when they need to be. So it was a learning process for all of us.
Mr. Howard?
Yes, Madam President, I'd like to applaud the team for the work that they're doing, and this is really touching our most vulnerable population, and I'm really excited about this work and what the impact is going to be on the kids that need it the most.
Any other questions or comments, board members? Thank you. Thank you.
Item 3.4 is an update on scholarship and campus, and I'm going to ask our Chief Information Data Officer, Ms. Ann Lytle, to provide that update.
So the request that we're making tonight is really in the best interest of all our scholars. So they'll be able to participate in sports and clubs and activities, not only this year, but in 1920, when the 91% daily attendance rate goes into their eligibility to participate. So we've been, at the beginning of the year, we started with our scholarship implementation. At the high school, it started on September 4th and went right through September 10th. On September 11th, all attendance was put directly into Infinite Campus. The middle schools went from September 4th to September 12th, and on September 13th, all attendance information went into Infinite Campus. There was multiple reasons for this, and there was issues with the technology and with both of the vendors. So in order to verify the particular data collected on these particular dates, what we'd like to do is ask for permission to verify the data that was pulled into Infinite Campus from scholarship. What we did was, so far, the data is sitting there, it is unresolved. On September 19th, we met with the administrators or a designee from each of those buildings and talked about how they would verify the data with the classroom teachers and others throughout the building to make sure that the data was 100% accurate, so as to ensure that students were not affected by this particular implementation. We are hoping that schools will verify the data, make sure that any changes to this unresolved data are kept, their names, their IDs, the date of the change, and what the reason for the change was. And then this will also allow us to ensure that we have accurate data for attendance on those particular dates.
Board members, questions of Mrs. Lytle? Yes, sir.
So for the rest of the year, scholarship is on hold until next year, or is it going to be implemented this year and roll out?
So it's currently being paused. This is something that a team of people are working on every single day to improve the implementation between both vendors. And until we feel comfortable that it's ready to go, we're going to continue to take attendance in Infinite Campus.
Is the district incurring any additional expense due to this situation?
Not to my knowledge, no, there's not additional costs.
Are there any other questions before I tell you what we have to do? We're going to be walking on an item to suspend a portion of policy 5100. In my section, it'll be number 5.3, and I'll read it when it comes to it. This is to help our scholars. This is to help our kids so that they don't get hurt by a glitch that was a systematic glitch and something that was beyond their control, and so therefore they shouldn't be assumed to be responsible for it. We will be counting their attendance. We will be making sure that their attendance is taken, but we'd like to suspend a portion of policy 5100, and I'll read the whole thing to you as we try to walk an agenda item on.
Madam President, that concludes my items for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Padilla. We're going to move on to board committees. First, Audit Committee, Mrs. Santiago.
Thank you, Madam President. Some of the items that we've discussed, we actually had 2 meetings this month to review mainly the internal and external auditor agreements for the next 4 years. And we're in the process of reviewing that, and that our recommendation will come next month. Thank you.
Thank you. Policy Committee, Mr. Howard.
Yes, Madam President. Coming up under your portion of the agenda, 5.1 and 5.2, basically what we went over in the policy committee, we removed some of the old policies that were already on the book duplicitously and had been already approved by the board, and we also removed some older policies and replaced them by changing the numbers. So that's basically what the meeting consisted of.
Thank you. Mr. Strudine, Library Committee.
Caught me off guard there. We had a library committee meeting last week. We discussed a few items. I'll bring it up. Let's see. We had discussed the HBO filming that took place on September 18th, and the library space redesign RFPs, acceptance of credit card payments for fines, printing and copying, and the transfer of funds. New business discussed metal detectors, which we'll be bringing up at the next meeting. Library hours, HVAC replacement at the mall branch, and resolution of approving a conflict of interest. And our next meeting will be at the beginning of October.
Thank you. We're going to move on to Personnel Committee and Buildings and Grounds. Ms. Prakash.
Yes, we had a meeting last week for both committees. In the Personnel Committee meeting, the things that are on tonight's agenda were all discussed. A couple highlights was the hiring of the principal and the staff for night school, which is going to be starting in October. Appointments for the FACE division, additional staff for that. School leadership teams, 21st century appointments, and winter coaching appointments and positions. For buildings and ground, we went over the work that was done over the summer by the buildings and grounds crew, a lot of extensive work being done at South Middle School. We also discussed facility use requests, the painting schedule that's ongoing, the stipend for van inspections for the school vans, and playground equipment for Fostertown and Bonzo.
Thank you. We're going to move on to the Board President section. I have for your attention 5.1 and 5.2. Would any member like to separate out any of these items? Yes, sir?
5.2, please.
So just separate them all together. On 5.1, I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Burton? Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Ms. Maida? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Ms. Santiago?
Yes.
Mr. Strudiron?
Yes.
We're going to move on to 5.2. I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion? Mr. Strudiron?
Could someone just review what the changes were to 5430, which will now be 4730?
The word pupils was eliminated and replaced with the word student. The end of the third quarter was added, and then this portion right here shall be weighted by awarding extra credit for each honor, AP, or college level courses. Those were the changes.
What grade do the classes start counting in the GPA calculation?
Do me a favor, just repeat the question. What grade?
What grade do the classes start counting in the GPA calculations?
Or classes that have Regents exams, which would be high school level classes, so as early as 8th grade.
So, how long has that been happening as far as 8th grade classes being counted towards GPA rank? Is it recent or?
We can research that and get back to the board.
I'd like to make a comment. In May of 2018 at the policy meeting, the honors classes taken prior to 9th grade to be included was on the agenda, but it was never approved by the board. And so, is it possible that this policy that's being adopted tonight can clarify that to make sure that 8th grade classes, so that the students know, the parents know when it really starts, when it's approved by the board? It needs to be very clear.
So we'll research this, and to your point around communication, as soon as policies are now approved, there's a mechanism in place where it's communicated through various mediums.
Are there any other questions or comments on item 5.2? If not, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Maida? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Ms. Santiago?
Yes.
Mr. Scrivener?
No.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Item 5.3 is the first reading of Board Policies 4600, Counseling and Guidance Programs, number 9645, whistleblower, and 6742, state contracts. This is just the first reading, and it does not need a resolution. I'm going to read a resolution that I would like to add. So I'm going to read it first, and then I'll ask you if you would like to add it to the agenda. So, whereas the district instituted scholarship as the electronic student attendance program for students in grades 6 through 12 at the start of the 2019-20 school year, and whereas there have been malfunctions with Infinite Campus and the scholarship, the student management systems, resulting in concerns with the record keeping and the need to verify the data. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby suspends that portion of Policy 5100, Comprehensive Student Attendance, that prohibits changing a student's attendance record beyond 5 school days after returning to school, i.e., e.g., changing an unexcused absence to an excused absence, solely to enable the school's administration to verify the data that was entered into the student management systems and to change a student's record based upon such verification, which verification process must be completed no later than October 4th, 2019. So I'd like to entertain a motion to add this resolution.
So moved to add, Madam President.
Excuse me? Thank you. Got a second? Okay, so that's to add. So I'd like to entertain a motion, please, on this 5.4.
Point of order, you just need a roll call.
Oh, I need a roll call, excuse me.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Ms. Santiago?
Yes.
Mr. Scrivener?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clark.
Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Ms. Santiago?
Yes.
Mr. Scrivener?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Thank you. We're going to move on to our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction Elementary, Mrs. Moriarty.
Thank you, Madam President. Elementary Curriculum and Instruction has one item for your consideration this evening.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Yes, sir.
There was a question asked at the beginning of the meeting whether there's evidence that the programs are successful for the overall student population. Is there some way that we can get a good idea whether or not the programs that were outlined in the question are effective? It could be like a rolling report on some of the programs.
Where is that on this item regarding programs? This is in reference to...
Well, it was also discussed about conference reports, whether they were effective. Can we get a report to the board? I know that the board has to vote on it, whether or not it's going to get done, but as the effectiveness of the professional development that's happening at conferences.
So, Madam President, what I would recommend is perhaps taking that particular question to committee to identify with the committee and the various staff members around the particular interests, around metrics to quantify effectiveness regarding professional development.
Mr. Stradard, in some of the committees that I've been sitting on, I've been asking for an evaluation plan of things that have been coming up, because I think we need to see it if our money is well spent and if our children are getting what they truly deserve for each of our programs. So, thank you. Are there any other questions or discussion on this item? If not, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes?
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Ms. Santiago?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Maida?
Thank you, Madam President. That concludes my items for this evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Moriarty. We're going to move on to our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum, Secondary, Dr. Spindler.
Thank you, Madam President. Curriculum of the secondary level presents to one item, 7.1, for consideration. Thank you.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Ms. Santiago?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
That concludes my items for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Spindler. We're going to move on to our Assistant Superintendent of Exceptional Learners, Mr. Bay.
I'm going to talk loud. Okay, sorry. That's before. Thank you, Madam President. I have one item on the special agenda, 8.1.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Santiago?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Thank you, that concludes my items.
Thank you, Mr. Bear. We're going to move on to our Assistant Superintendent of Finance, Mr. Kern.
Thank you, Madam President. Finance would like to offer for consent agenda tonight items 9.1 through 9.4.
Would any member like to separate out any of these items? I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Yes, sir?
I just want to thank Mr. Kern for his service to the district. I like your honesty and your bluntness. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion on any of these items? If not, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Burton? Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Ms. Santiago?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam President. That concludes the items for finance for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Kern. We're going to move on to our Assistant Superintendent, Human Resources, Mr. McElmore.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to request permission to amend the Human Resources consent agenda.
Okay, tell us how first, and then we'll have a motion to amend.
On resolution 10.12, I'd like to amend items 14 through 79
14 through 79.
to reflect Schedule N, not Schedule O.
So,
So point of order,
we have a motion first.
we should take 10.1 through to the end, and then somebody should just pull out 10.12.
Okay. So, would any member like to separate out any of these items, 10.1 through 10.24? Yes, Mr. Stradine?
10.12.
Thank you. Any others? 10.1. 10.1. Ms. Brokaw? A7. A7. Okay. But we're gonna do the whole thing, pull it out. Yes, sir?
10.21.
2-1. Any others to be pulled out? And 10.22, Ms. Brokaw? I don't need on 10.22. Okay, so we're going to look at items 10.1. No, we're not doing 10.1. Wait a minute, I'm very good. Yeah, we're not doing 10.1. So 10.2 through 10.24 minus 1, 12, 21, and 22. Are there any others? I know I'm going to mess this up, so I'm so sorry. Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion on the items on the floor? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Burton? Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Ms. Santiago?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
We're going to start with item 10.1. I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Can I have a second? Thank you. Questions or discussion? Yes, Ms. Prokop.
Yes, I'd like to table number 7 on the 10.1.
Okay, we have a motion to table. Can I have a second on that item 8.7? So I need a roll call to table that item. Yes, Mr. Clerk? Okay, thank you. Roll call.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Ms. Santiago?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
No.
Okay, we're going to go back to item 10.1. Everything else except for A7, I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So,
No, point of order.
Okay.
There's already the original motion on the floor, you table that, so now we need a roll call on 10.1, that already has not made
Very
sense.
cool. Roll call, please.
Mr. Howard? Ms. Maida? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop? Ms. Santiago?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Burton? Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Okay, now we're going to item 10.12. I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Thank you. Questions or discussion on item 10.12? We want to change from 14 to 79 to say Schedule N. Thank you. Can I have a second? Roll call.
So this is on 10.12, 14 through 79 will now say Schedule N. Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
yes.
Ms. Santiago?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Burton? Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Maida?
Yes.
So that item is gone, right?
So now we need to bring 10.12 as a roll call as amended.
Okay. So, I'd like to entertain a motion
No,
to...
point of order, you just need a roll call on 10.12 that's already been amended.
Thank you. Do it.
Ms. Prokop? Ms. Santiago? Mr. Stridiron? Ms. Burton? Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Ms. Maida? Ms. Mineo?
Yes. Sorry, everybody. These things always mess me up, so I really apologize. We're going to move on to 10.21. I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion? Yes, sir.
Do we have any idea of how many meetings this person will attend at Marist?
There's multiple meetings throughout the year on Saturdays at Marist, but the attendance is not only in Saturday meetings, it's correspondence and communication as a communication strategist for the program. So it's more than just attending meetings.
Are there any other questions or comments on that item? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Ms. Santiago?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
No.
Ms. Burton? Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Maida?
Yes.
I'll get it together. We're gonna move on to item 10.22. I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Second.
Questions or discussion on 10.22? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, like table number 8.
So, table number 8, we need a second to table number 8.
Second.
Roll call to table.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
And also to change schedule O to schedule N.
All right, let's start with tabling that one, and then we'll move on to the change, okay? So we're tabling item number 8. Okay, roll call to table.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Ms. Santiago?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
No.
Ms. Burton? Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes. Now you have another thing to change.
Yes, to change from schedule O to schedule N.
On what, all numbers, on all the numbers? Okay, so we have a motion to amend. Do I need a second to amend?
Yes.
Can I have a second, please? Do I need a roll call to amend?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're moving,
All items will now say Schedule N.
thank you. Roll call, please.
Ms. Santiago?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Burton? Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Now you need a roll call on 10.22, that table number 8, and amended everything to say Schedule N.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for reminding
She
me.
has a question.
You have a question?
Were all of these items presented to the personnel committee at the last meeting? Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Ms. Maida? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop? Ms. Santiago?
Yes.
That concludes my items, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mancamora. We're going to move on to the clerk of the board, Mr. McCoy.
Thank you, Madam President. I have the approval of the minute from the September 10th, 2019 meeting.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Ms. Santiago?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Burton? That concludes my items, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. We're now at the portion of the agenda for public discussion on non-agenda items. Please refer to the procedure sheet next to the sign-in sheet. Mrs. Moran, would you like to join us?
Good evening. My name is Steve Moran, and I am the president of the Newburgh Teachers Association. I am speaking tonight to remind the members of our Board of Education that the backbone of our school district is composed of the faculty and staff who work closest with our students, and that the teaching assistants who work tirelessly with the children of this community play an essential role in their education. It is very easy to forget that teaching assistants are the ones who are appointed by you to provide direct instructional service to students. They assist teachers in the development of appropriate learning experiences, and they assist children, including those with special needs, in the use of instructional materials so they are able to reach their full potential. And more, they are conducting classes when substitutes are not available in order to make sure that the education of the students of this district continues. In addition to giving the best to our children, many of our TAs must work a second and sometimes a third job in order to make ends meet. They stay as TAs in Newburgh for the benefits, but they must supplement their income elsewhere. For the members of this unit, this is their reality. And I'm asking you to think about this and the importance of the adults who truly affect the lives of children in Newburgh, because they see them, they interact with them, they assist them, and most importantly, they know and care about them as individuals. They are not far removed from the classroom. That is where they do their work. And our teaching assistants are essential to the success of the children in this district. Tonight, I am asking you, as the members of the Newburgh Enlarged City School District Board of Education, to remember that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Conchetta Carbone.
Hi, how are you? Good evening. I'm Conchetta Carbone. I'm a 6th grade science teacher at South Middle School, and I'm speaking today in regard to the successful implementation of Policy 5697 at South Middle School. Since the start of the school year, we have decided as a staff to make a school-wide commitment to enforcing the K-8 cell phone policy. We have sent home flyers, we've made robocalls, we've posted the policy around the school, we've shared the policy on our social media pages, we've presented to the students and the parents many times, and we will again at open house tomorrow. This is in response to the universal awareness at the middle level that students accessing their cell phones during the instructional day has contributed to the vast majority of our behavioral issues, our negative peer interactions, as well as academic concerns in the past years. Now that the additional Chromebooks have finally arrived to accommodate our increased enrollment this year, the rolling out of our one-to-one Chromebook initiative, and the students will have access to technology throughout the day, further proving that they don't need their cell phones in any way. As a result of adhering strictly to the cell phone policy, in the month that we've had at school, we have already seen a decrease in tardiness to classes. We've seen fewer students in the hallways during instructional time, fewer instances of negative peer interaction stemming from social media. It is immediate change in our building. If you walk through our building, you can feel it, you can hear it, you can see it. Where am I? I don't normally read off the sheet, so I'm trying to read. So the students have really made an effort. They are embracing it. It's a little challenging for them, but they are overcoming the fact that they don't need to have their phone with them at all times. Instead, we're seeing students arriving to class on time. They're engaged in classroom lessons and participating in real face-to-face discussions, a 21st century skill we thought they lost. But they can do it. They can talk to each other and have great conversations. We didn't think they had anyone. The policy has helped to establish an environment for learning, and we appreciate the positive change in our school climate and culture that this has created. So we just want to say that it's working really well. We are seeing a change. Please come down, take a look. Mr. Eatrey was in the building the other day and just couldn't rave enough about how the vibe was going in the building. So thank you for taking the time to draft the policy. We spoke about it many times. I spoke here to you all about it, and it's really working. So thank you for shouldering up with our efforts to keep South Middle School a cell phone-free school zone. Thank you.
Everybody okay back there? Anybody else like to address the board on non-agenda items? If not, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby recesses into executive session for the following purpose: matters leading to the employment of particular individuals and to obtain advice from legal counsel. I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Second. Roll call.
Mr. Howard? Yes. Ms. Maida? Yes. Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Ms. Pocock? Yes. Ms. Santiago? Yes. Mr. Stridiron? Yes. Ms. Burton? Yes. Dr. Henderson? Yes.
We will not be doing business after executive session. Dr. Z has something to say?
Yeah, I just want to bring your attention to our new house principal of the evening campus, Ms. Sandra Wood in the back. Could you give her a
So, see you in 3 weeks.